that didn't do it. There we go. Welcome back. It's time for math. Welcome. I hope you had a good time in Spanish. So today's Tuesday morning, I'm going to go through today's lesson in math a little bit. We're going to talk about it, and then you guys can work on it. If you went to the calendar this morning, you'll see we're on lesson 2.02. Some of you are a little behind in math. And here's what I'd like to tell you. Since the first 2 weeks were kind of for practicing, I'd kind of like you to jump ahead and join us here at 2.02, unless you're working with a learning coach who's helping you catch up on those math assignments, because otherwise, every time we do a math lesson in class, you're going to kind of not know what we're talking about. So if you are one of the kids who hasn't quite finished all of Unit 1, I want you to jump ahead and do this lesson today on Unit 2, and then go back later on today and do Unit 1 and finish up, okay? That way you don't fall further and further behind. And with math, the trick is you learn a little bit each time you do a lesson, and it's okay not to master it. I know that's frustrating, and you want to feel like you've mastered it, but reminder that math is about thinking hard. And when you're thinking hard and trying to solve problems, you're learning. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy for you to just grab and solve a problem instantly. Your brain doesn't actually grow that much when you're at that point. I mean, it's awesome if you can do that, but still, it's good practice for you to work on something, even if it's hard for you and you can't completely master it. If I could have everybody who have their screens on, we are now I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna go to the lesson for today.
Okay.
Decimal jumping, lesson 2.02 is our lesson right here, decimal jumping. And they gave it that title because they have a little story associated with it. And I want you to really imagine this story. So it says Runia's next track meet is coming up in a few weeks. She wants to try and increase her distance on her triple jump. Who knows what a triple jump is? Anybody? I'm going to show you what a triple jump is. It's something that you do in sports. These kids are doing it. So here's the triple jump they're talking about. You kind of do a hop, a skip, and a jump. Hop, skip, jump. So that's a triple jump. You can try it later on at home. We can do it for a brain break if I talk too long. Hop, skip, jump. All right. So our friend Runia in our lesson is in a track meet, and she's doing this sport. Her coach has been giving her some tips on how to jump further. Each tip will hopefully increase her distance by a small amount. However, some days she does not jump quite as far. Runia uses decimals to add and subtract her distances each day. You'd better warm up your math muscles. Runia needs our help to increase her distance. What will I learn in this lesson? How to add 2 decimal numbers, how to subtract 2 decimal numbers, how to add 3 decimal numbers, and how to subtract 3 decimal numbers. And today we're using a strategy where we use drawings. Now, sometimes I'll have kids say to me, I know how to do this, Ms. Laws, using just numbers. They're going to mow the lawn outside and make lots of noise. Let me close that and see if that helps. My goodness, does it have to be loud? Close that. See if it quiets it down. There we go. Sorry about that. So my answer to you is this. As long as you can solve math problems, you can solve math problems. There are lots of different ways to solve math problems. Being able to look at a strategy and understand it is a useful skill, but being able to solve a math problem is probably more important. So if you have a different way of doing it, it's okay, but you have to prove to me that you understand it. And you still have to be able to look at a model and understand what it means. So I'm going to explain these models to you today, but remember that models are just strategies. There are 8 pages in this lesson, and your assignment today is to complete the whole lesson and do the exercise. Glad to add. It's loading up the video. I'm not going to do the whole video, but you can later. Here is the thing that they're asking us. Use fraction strips to solve the following equations. And I was really confused by this because I don't actually have the workbooks, and so I didn't know if you guys had fraction strips. But then I looked at it to see what they meant in the answers, and I figured it out. So 3/10 plus 4/10. So again, if we look at a yardstick, here's a meter stick. So this is what Runia is using to measure her jumps. And she's going to increase her jumps from doing maybe a couple of these to doing more than that. But she's not going to increase it by a whole yardstick, which is why we have to use fractions or decimals to talk about parts of a meter. So if I break this meter into 10 little pieces, then each one is a tenth or 0.1 or 1/10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say she increases it only by 4/10. That's this much. I can't talk about whole meters because it's not a whole meter. It's 4 parts of that meter broken into 10 pieces. That's what they mean by tenths, is if you take a whole thing like a meter stick and you break it into pieces. Okay. So in this case, if she was adding, let's say she jumped a meter and 3/10 the first time, and then the next time she was able to jump 4/10, how much further did she go? Well, we have to be able to add tenths. So let's take a look at the example. Similar how we add and subtract whole numbers, we can add and subtract decimal numbers. We can use models to help us add 2 or 3 decimal numbers together. Let's solve 0.3 plus 0.6. We're working with decimals in the tenths place. This means use a whole model that is divided into 10 equal parts or tenths. And it can be long like this, or it can be a strip. Either way. Let's see if it has. Yeah, so here's the strips. So if we had 3/10, 1, 2, 3/10, plus 4 more, 1, 2, 3, 4. How many tenths is that? And you might think, well, I have to add the tenths, don't I? Well, no, because we didn't break these into 20 pieces. They're still broken into 10 pieces. So it's like a cake cut into 10 pieces. If I had 3 pieces of that cake that's cut into 10 pieces, plus 4 more pieces of that cake that was cut into 10 pieces, I wouldn't have 20 pieces. There'd still be 10 pieces. I would have eaten 7 of them and I'd probably have a big stomach ache, huh? So we just add the numerator or that top number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths using a fraction strip. Here's the next problem that they showed you up there, 2/10 plus 7/10. Here's 2/10, here's 7/10, 9/10. I'm hoping that your notebooks have got these fraction strips in there for you, but I'm not sure whether they do. Do they have them in your notebook? Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's keep looking. So here, 3/10 plus 6/10. Now this one's a little bit tricky. Let's have a look. First, we put in the 3/10, and in this case, they made them long and skinny. It doesn't really matter what shape the object is, as long as you know that it's one thing broken into 10 pieces. So whenever you see this number point this spot means it's broken into 10 pieces. If it had 2 places behind the decimal point, it's broken into 100 pieces. Wow. So if we have 3/10 plus 6 more tenths, it just equals 9/10, 0.9. Easy peasy. Let's go on. 10th strength. Follow along to learn more with these examples. Runya's coach said if she takes longer steps during her run, she'll increase her distance by 0.7 meters. 0.7 meters. So here's our meter stick again. She's going to increase it by 0.7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a lot longer, isn't it? She's going to jump that much further. Good job, Runya. She's going to use her arms for power, and then she's going to increase her distance by another 0.5. Uh-oh. Now this gets a little bit confusing because if you look at this, if she increased it by 7/10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then another 5, 1, 2, 3, it's going to go past 1, isn't it? We know that on the place value chart, once you have 10 of something, you can bundle them up and put them in the next place value spot. So that means you're going to have a whole meter and then some pieces left over. Let's take a look, shall we? So it says, first of all, we're going to write the equation. Equation is like a number sentence. We'll write the problem as an equation, 0.7 plus 0.5. What is the sum? Sum means the answer to an addition problem of this equation. We are working with decimal numbers in the tenths place. We can use a model that's broken or partitioned into 10 equal parts. The first decimal number in the equation is 0.7. There it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus 0.5. The 7 is in the tenths place, which means there are 7 tenths. We shade 7 parts. Then we add our 0.5, but look what happened. We filled in a whole shape and then 2 more parts. How do we show that in numbers? Let's see. That means we have 1 whole and 2 parts, or you could call it 12 tenths. When you read a number in tenths or hundreds or thousands, you kind of pretend like this decimal's not there, and you just say it as a whole number and then say the end point. So in this case, it's either 1 and 2 tenths, or it's 12 tenths. Tricky. Oops, solution. Using models, we found that 0.7 plus 0.5 equals 1.2. Now, if you already know how to line up your decimals and add it together, you could just line those numbers up and add them. Good job. Runya sprints before she jumps. This usually gives her a distance of 1.2 meters. If she takes longer steps and uses her arms for power, that should add another 0.4 meters on her jump. Her coach also suggested that she take more steps in her sprint, which should add 2.3. With all of these tips, how far should she be able to jump? So we have how far she jumped before, which was 1.2. She's adding, oh, we already have the 1.2. She's adding 0.4 to the 1.2, and then she's adding 2.3. Can you guys try and figure it out? You first write it down, 1.2 plus 0.4 plus 2.3. What is the sum of this added equation? Work on it, see if you can get the answer. You look at the first number, 1.2. You add the second number, the 0.4. Now we're at 1 point. Anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1.6. And then we add the third decimal number, which is 2.3. Wow, 1, 2, and 3 more parts. Now we have a total of 1, 2, 3 wholes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tenths. How do we show that? We have 3 whole meters and 9 tenths, almost another meter, huh?
3.9.
3.9, awesome. And if you knew how to line up your decimals, you would just put the numbers on top of each other and make sure the decimal point lines up. We're going to learn that method later, but you might already know that one. Adding hundredths. Runya has a friend named Parker. Parker needs help adding the height of her jumps. Let's help her. Solve the addition equation, 0.27 or 27 hundredths plus 0.36 or 36 hundredths. What is the sum of this equation? We're working with decimal numbers in the hundredths place. We can use a model that is broken or partitioned into 100 equal parts. So this is the same picture we had before with the strips, only now we've divided it further 10 times into 100 little pieces. When we're using a shape like this, we need to remember that each long row of 10 is a tenth, and then these are the hundredths. So you can say 27 hundredths, or you could say 2 tenths and 7 hundredths. Pretty cool, huh? Then we add 36 more hundredths. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths and 3 hundredths, or 0.63. Let's see if that's right. Oh, look at that, 6 tenths and 3 hundredths, 0.63. Ignore that last thing, that's the period. 0.63 or 63 hundredths is how you say that. Practice adding these decimal numbers in the activity below. You can do it. So here is the text version. You're going to use decimal grids to solve the following equations. Here it says print, and it gives you a worksheet that you can work on. Oops, cancel. I'm not going to do it right now. And then it has the answers down here, so you can check your work, but I'm not going to do that one right now. I want you to go back and do page 4. Act to subtract. Just like we can use models to add decimal numbers. Oh, Nora, go ahead.
Are we supposed to print the?
Well, it's kind of up to you. You probably have this page in your book. It should be in your book. So you should be able to find one that looks just like this in your book. And then I think it will have actually the shapes that you can fill in, which is nice. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Let's go on to the next page, unless I've just frozen up my screen, which is possible. Come on, screen. Where are you? Well, my screen is angry at me. Please don't be angry, screen. Yeah, it's frozen. Okay, since it's frozen, we'll just work on this for a minute. So there are a couple of ways to add this up. 1.4 plus 0.2. You can fill in the grids. Oh, there it goes. It finally went. Okay, let's keep going. So now they're going to go on with the same activities in subtraction. And the way you learn this is by carefully doing all the practiced activities. So with subtraction, you're just taking it away. If you had 0.8 colored in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8/10 colored in, and you took away 5 of them, zip, 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 how many would you have left? I see your fingers holding up. Good job, you guys. We crossed out 5 of them. We have 3/10 left. Okay. 0.8 minus 0.5 equals 0.3. Runia usually jumps 1.2 meters. She tried a jump taking longer steps, but her shoe was untied, so she stumbled. This took 0.9 off of her balance. What was her distance on this jump? So you can say 1.2, or you could say 12/10 minus 9/10 equals how many tenths? Hold up your fingers. 12/10 minus 9/10. You can add on from 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Or you can go backwards and you can go 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So you can add on or go backwards. It's like 12 minus 9. The first decimal number is 1.2 or 12/10. The 1 is in the ones place. The 2 is in the tenths place. So 1 whole and 2/10. We shade it in. Then we subtract the 0.9. Blip, 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 blip. And we're left with the difference, which is 0.3. That decimal point makes a big difference. So make sure and keep that decimal point in your answer. Decimal takeaway. Here's some practice. They're going to have you practice going through this one. So you're going to need to go back and do page 4 and page 6. Find the difference. And then they have some sketchbook answers where they take you through the answer and how to do it. Study it until you understand it. And then what did I learn? It talks about how to add and subtract decimal numbers. Then it has a little practice quiz here. And finally, today's lesson is not to do a quiz, but you actually have to fill out this form, decimal jumping, and turn it in. You can do it in your workbook and then take a picture of it and submit it. Or you can print this page and then turn it in to me. And remember, there are a couple ways that you can turn it in. In mine, I download it, or you can, well, you have to download it and you have to save it so that you can change it. So on mine, I already did that. And then I opened it up here. And now I'm going to work right on this sheet. So for me, I do that by clicking on these tools. And I might click on the one that's just drawing. And I'm going to use my model and I'm going to fill it in. So 0.2. 1, oops, that's not my pen. Here it is. Is it a pen? Yeah. 1, 2, plus 0.9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And in math, it's important. 8 to go slowly and carefully. 9 equals a total of 1 whole 0.1/10. 9 plus 2, 9, 10, 11, right? 11/10, 1 whole and 1/10, or 11/10. You're going to fill out this form and submit it. This is your assignment today that you need to turn in. Okay? Do I have any questions about the assignment